Hey, what's up, Angels fans, and welcome back to Angels Latest, the show where we hope spring, eternal, logic occasionally takes the night off, and somehow, in some way, we're still dreaming big for our Halos. And as always, we're a little excited, a little anxious, and a little, wait, are we really doing this again? This type of energy? And of course, that stubborn, unshakable belief that the Angels are one move away from shaking up the entire baseball world. Because let's be honest, guys, this offseason, yeah, it's already giving us mystery, mayhem, payroll math, and the more plot twists than a late night Netflix binge. And we've got free agents still dangling out there. I mean, trade ideas popping up every 5 minutes, and those juicy whispers that the Angels just might go big instead of going bargain bin. And trust me, I've been refreshing my X feed way too much trying to keep up with these winter meetings. But that's why we're here. We're here to break down the rumors, the possibilities, the chaos, and maybe talk ourselves into a little optimism along the way. Now, if you're new to the show, welcome aboard. I'm Anthony, and around here, this is where my passion, your passion meets perspective, where breakdowns meet belly laughs, and where the offseason becomes its own kind of, well, entertainment, right? So settle in, grab a drink, grab a snack, grab your emotional support rally, or whatever gets you through these Angels off seasons, and let's get right into it. All right, Angels fans, let's kick things off with a name that's still floating out there in the 2025-2026 free agent board. And there's going to be a theme in this show today, because this one's a veteran infielder who's had one of the more interesting careers in recent MLB memory, and that is Paul DeJong. Now, if you're wondering who he is beyond the stat line, well, buckle up, because DeJong's story is actually pretty fascinating. Yeah, actually, his name is Paul Sterling DeJong, born in Orlando, Florida, raised partly in Illinois, and is a 32-year-old right-handed hitting infielder with experience at shortstop, third base, and second base. And keep that third base in mind again, because we may have a hole there to fill pretty soon. And he's a guy who broke into the league fast. He made an early splash and has spent the last few years carving out a role of a versatile, power-capable veteran presence. Now, he was drafted in the 4th round of the 2015 MLB draft by the St. Louis Cardinals and made his major league debut in 2017. The guy wasted absolutely no time in making noise. I mean, his rookie year, 25 home runs. Yeah, 25 as a shortstop. He finished second in Rookie of the Year voting and instantly looked like the next long-term cornerstone for the Redbirds. And 2 years later, in 2019, he became an MLB All-Star, put up a 30 home run season, and cemented himself as one of the better power hitting shortstops in the league. But DeJong's career hasn't really been a straight line. I mean, since that peak, he's bounced around a little. He was in Toronto, San Francisco, Chicago White Sox, the Royals, before landing with the Washington Nationals for 2025. And with the Nats, well, he played a lot of third base, which is good, right? Dealt with a facial fracture mid-year, and then he hit the free agent market again this winter. So what does Paul DeJong bring statistically? Well, across his career, he's hit around 229, 146 home runs, and over 423 runs batted in. About 884 games, too. And even though his batting average has really never been his selling point, his power absolutely is. I mean, StatCast loves his exit velocity, his hard hit rates, and when he comes to connects, he connects with authority. And in fact, his barrel percentage, an advanced metric that measures quality contact, has often sat around 10%, which is solid for a veteran role player. Now, defensively, he's versatile, has a good arm and good arm strength, and while he's not an elite range defender, he is steady, dependable, and can move around the infield without hurting you. So here's the full breakdown on DeJong. Legit power, ability to play multiple infield positions, above average exit velocity and solid contact, and quality contact, solid veteran presence, and experience in high pressure roles, including an all-star season. Now we have to look at his weakness: low contact rate, high strikeouts, low on-base percentage, the offensive inconsistency year to year, and some durability concerns in recent seasons. But what kind of contract could he possibly get? And this is where things get interesting. Paul DeJong is not getting a long-term deal. No, he's not. Right now, his market projects as one of a 1 or 2 year contract somewhere in the range of $3 million to $7 million per year, probably with incentives tied to plate appearances, games played, or even home runs. He signed a 1-year deal with the Nationals last year and didn't do enough offensively to push himself into higher tiers of free agency. So teams looking at him aren't buying the all-star version from 2019. They're actually buying the veteran utility version from 2024 and 2025. So let's talk halos, okay, guys? How does Paul DeJong fit with the Angels roster? Well, he actually fits in a couple of ways, and this is how. The first one is infield depth. He can play shortstop, third base, and second base, giving you versatile coverage behind the younger players. Secondly, he's a right-hand power bat. The Angels need power, and they need it badly, and DeJong brings that, even if it's streaky. And third, he's low-risk, low-cost contract. With the Angels looking at lottery ticket for most of their depth, DeJong fits the model perfectly. And fourth, veteran presence, especially helpful with a young infield that may feature players like Denzer Guzman or Kyron Paris in the near future. Now, is this guy the one you build around? Probably not. He's a depth piece, not a franchise-changing move. And the Angels have been very clear. They want to take one big swing this offseason, go for the fence, right? And DeJong is not that swing, but he could be a useful supporting cast member if the Angels land a major free agent elsewhere. Now, here are the risks and rewards if the Angels sign him. So the risk is he could block playing time for younger players. He's very streaky offensively, and he's not guaranteed to bounce back. The rewards, he's going to be cheap, a flexible depth, occasional power surges, defensive versatility, and a professional clubhouse presence. So what's our final takeaway? Well, Paul DeJong is no longer the all-star slugging shortstop he once was, but he is also not done. I mean, his career's not over. He's the kind of smart, low-risk signing that can stabilize a roster, especially if the Angels get their one big offseason splash somewhere else. So the big question is, do the Angels see him as part of their depth plan? And if so, does he fit the lottery ticket strategy that they're clearly leaning into this winter? We'll see, but he's absolutely a name you have to watch. All right, so let's move on to our second player spotlight. In this episode, and this time we're talking about another free agent who might not turn heads nationally, but absolutely fits the mold of a potential Angels depth signing. Let's dive into Andy Ibañez. And Andy Ibañez is 32 years old, born in Havana, Cuba, right-handed bat, who carved out a career as a versatile, contact-oriented utility infielder, primarily at second base and, yes, third base. Now, this is his big road to the big leagues, and it's a little different than most. He's played in Cuba's National Series, represented Cuba in the 2013 World Baseball Classic, and then defected in 2014 to pursue a career in Major League Baseball. He signed with the Texas Rangers in 2015 and worked his way through the minors and finally made his Major League debut in 2021. And since then, he's bounced between the Rangers and the Tigers, carving out a role as a reliable bench piece, a platoon option, and a guy managers trust to play multiple positions. And now, heading into 2026, he's a free agent after being non-tendered by the Detroit Tigers. So what does Andy Ibañez actually bring to the table? Well, over his career, he hit around 254, with roughly 28 home runs and about 128 runs batted in across about 420 games. He's not a big power threat, and he's not going to slug like Paul DeJong or some of the other free agents available. But Ibañez brings contact ability, situational hitting, a real value in a platoon role. Now in 2025, he hit .239 with 4 home runs, 21 runs batted in, and a .653 on base plus slugging percentage. Not really eye-popping numbers, but here's the key. He consistently hits left-handed pitching better than righties, and that's a niche. He's a matchup play. He's a role player. He's your classic use him when the situation calls for it hitter. Now, if you look deeper into StatCast, his average exit velocity sits around 88.9 miles per hour, and his barrel percentage is about 4.6%. I mean, not elite, but not terrible. Just a guy who makes enough contact to give you the competitive at-bats. Now, defensively, Ibañez's value comes from his flexibility. I mean, he can play second base, and again, the keyword third base. And he's even sprinkled in some shortstop and left field in the minors. He's not a gold glover, but he's steady, and he's reliable, and he won't hurt you. I mean, he's the kind of player who can fill in when injuries hit or give you a competent glove on a rest day for your starters. Now, one thing scouts and coaches love about Ibañez is the guy's mindset. I mean, the guy is a pro. He's been through the Cuban baseball system, the defection process, the grind of the minor leagues, and that background builds toughness. I mean, he's also had flashes, including playoff contributions for Detroit, that show he can step up in the big moments. So let's talk money, the green stuff, right? Because Ibañez was non-tendered, and he hits the market at a low risk, affordable depth category. He's likely looking at a 1-year deal somewhere in, $1 million to $3 million range, and maybe with a club option or some performance incentives. I mean, he is absolutely not going to break the bank. He's a utility signing, a strategic piece, and not a marquee acquisition. Okay, now let's talk about the halos. With the Angels shifting towards a lottery ticket upside and that kind of strategy around one potential big free agent signing, Andy Ibañez fits exactly what they're looking for. And why? Well, he's got versatility. I mean, the Angels need infield depth. He covers second base and, again, third base, 2 areas with real question marks right now. Number 2, the platoon advantages versus lefties. The Angels lineup is extremely streaky. A dependable bat versus left-handers helps create matchup flexibility. And third, low cost, low risk. He won't block top prospects like Denzer Guzman or Kyron Paris. Now, this is professionalism. He brings maturity and a steady presence to a young Angels infield. But is he an everyday starter? No. Is he a difference maker? Not really. But he's a glue guy, the type of player that makes a roster functional, not flashy. Now, let's talk about the risks and rewards if the Angels do sign him. The risk, limited power, not a consistent run producer, could get overshadowed by better internal options. But here's your rewards. Clutch platoon bat, reliable defensive depth, very affordable, and does not block the youth movement. So my final takeaway from this is Andy Ibañez is not a headline move, but he's the kind of role-playing infielder who quietly helps you win games in July and August. He is a fit for the Angels if they want a dependable, low-cost veteran who can bring versatility and competitive at-bats against the lefties. And if the Halos go big elsewhere, one huge signing, one big swing, Ibañez is exactly the kind of depth piece that makes the strategy possible. He's not a plan A, he's not a plan B, but he might be a perfect plan C for adding stability to the roster without, creating sacrifice to the budget. All right, Halos fans, for our third topic today, let's dig into the Orange County Register article that dropped, the one asking the question we've all been circling around this entire offseason. The question is, could the Angels still go big for one player in free agency? And Angels fans, this article wasn't just reporting, it was signaling. I mean, it was laying out a pretty fascinating roadmap for what this front office might actually be trying to do this winter. The theme of the article was the Angels finally have a chance to try something different. I mean, for years and years, the Angels have built rosters the same way. Not with superstars, as we all know, not with blockbuster contracts, we all know, but with baseball's middle class. And we're talking guys like Brandon Drury, Tyler Anderson, Carlos Estevez, Alex Cobb, Kenley Jansen, Gio Urshela, Hunter Renfroe, Aaron Loup, Ryan Tempera, Mercado, and guys who are fine, they're solid, sometimes even productive, but not difference makers. The article also lays it out clearly, and that strategy, it really hasn't worked. And all of us Angel fans shake our head at that. 10 straight losing seasons. I mean, not one of those mid-tier guys has moved the needle. So this is a different year. The Angels finally have payroll space. This offseason looks completely different from the ones we've seen under Perry Minasian. The Angels have actually cleared more payroll than they've spent so far, which is good. Grayson Rodriguez, Alek Manoah, Vaughn Grissom, your lottery tickets all combined for less than $4 million next season. I mean, they also cleared out $14 million by trading Taylor Ward. And according to Fangraphs, the Angels are now roughly $38 million below last year's payroll, which is really good. Let me say that again. $38 million of breathing room. That's really good. Now, the Register breaks down something we've all felt for a while, and that's $6 million to $15 million spending range. The middle of the market, well, that's where the Angels have lived for the past 5 years, and it hasn't pushed the team anywhere. Again, not even into a contention, not even towards title windows, not even towards 500. So the article asks the big question, why keep doing it? I mean, why keep spreading the money around when you finally have enough to swing for one game-changing player? Now, the Register suggests something really bold. Instead of buying 3 or 4 mid-tier guys, like they usually and always do, why not use that $38 million for one marquee free agent? And according to the article, the Angels could use any of the top players still on the board, any of them. Pick one, and it improves the roster. Now, if they land the big fish, the rest of the winter becomes simple. More lottery tickets, more upside players, more opportunities for young players like Nelson Rada or Denzer Guzman to win jobs. Now, the article doesn't sugarcoat it. It's a big swing, a risky swing. Now, your cheap upside plays might bust. Your one marquee signing might flop. Hello, Anthony Rendon? Does that ring a bell? But here's the counter argument, and this is really where the heart of the article is at. The Angels' old strategy hasn't worked anyways. I mean, so you've had a decade of losing seasons doing it the safe way, doing it the middle class way, doing it the spread the money around way, and it just doesn't return anything. So maybe finally it's time to try something else. So let's look at some of the historical context of the Minasian has never gone to the top of the market. And this is another important detail that the Orange County Register article brought. In 5 years as GM, the biggest contract Perry has handed out was the $63 million to Kikuchi, which barely even scrapes the bottom of the top of the market. He's lived in the middle tier, and he's lived in the $6 to $15 million zone. And while some deals like Estevez have been solid, most haven't helped enough to change really anything. So this offseason gives him a chance to rewrite that pattern. Other notes from the article that matter and I want to bring up is that it also highlights a few quick notes that tie into the bigger picture. Number one, the Angels did not select anyone in the major league portion of the Rule 5 draft, which shows that they're not chasing fringe guys to just fill space. Secondly, they lost 5 players in the minor leagues phase, the most of any organization, so depth will need rebuilding. Third, Mike Trout may play more center field than expected. Manasian said they won't be timid. If center field helps them win, he'll do it. And fourth, no innings limit for Reed Detmers. The Angels see him as a full-strength rotation arm again. So what does this all mean? And here's my big takeaway. The Angels are at a crossroads. They can keep doing what they've always done and keep getting what they always gotten, the same results. And as Angel fans, we're tired of that. Or they can swing big, go for the fences. One player, one star, one move that changes the direction of the entire franchise. And according to the OC Register, this offseason is the first time in years where that actually is possible. So my final word is the Angels have the money. They have the opportunity. And for the first time in a long time, they might actually have the motivation to take a real shot. Now, whether they'll take it, that's the question that could define their entire offseason. All right, for our next topic, let's zoom out from the big league roster for a second and talk about something that might not make front page headlines. This could end up, though, being really important for the future of the Angels. And we're talking about the Rancho Cucamonga Quakes and their new life as an Angels affiliate starting in 2026. That's right. So here's what's going on. Okay, so the Rancho Cucamonga Quakes were a longtime member, or are longtime members of the California League, and they're switching over to the Angels organization as their single-A affiliation beginning in 2026. Now, for years, Rancho had been tied to the Dodgers, but because of a larger shuffle with affiliates and franchise movement, the alignment is changing. So in simple terms, the Angels single-A operation, which had been based out of the Inland Empire 66ers, it's essentially shifting into the Quakes identity and ballpark in Rancho Cucamonga. While the former Quakes Dodgers side of the tree, they're going to move and rebrand elsewhere in Ontario. So the name Quakes stays in Rancho, but now, starting in 2026, it's going to be Quakes in all red, Angel red. And those young guys you're watching, they're going to be Angels prospects. As part of the change, the Quakes are rolling out new uniforms, a branding that lean hard into the Angels connection. And we're talking again, Angels red, updated looks, and a visual identity that makes it crystal clear. This is now part of the Los Angeles Angels family. And for fans in the IE, or Inland Empire, and the 909, this is a pretty cool reset. Some fun major league vibe, but now with a direct pipeline to the Angels. So why is this more than just a uniform change? Well, because this move actually matters for the Angels' development pipeline. And first off, the Quakes play in Rancho Cucamonga. That's not too far away from Anaheim. That's right here in SoCal with easy reach for Angel scouts, player development staff, and front office folks, and even rehabbing big leaguers. Yeah, that means easier trips to evaluate prospects, less travel friction for staff, and more eyes on young talent on a regular basis. You want your player development system to feel connected to the big club? Well, and a local single-A affiliate helps do exactly that. Now, the facilities and environment, gosh, the Quakes play at Lone Mark Field, and it's a long-established minor league ballpark with a strong fan base and a solid reputation as a place to watch baseball. With the affiliation switch and ownership support, you're looking at good facilities for early-stage development, a stable environment for young players' first full season, and a fan base, wow, that just shows up and makes it feel like real pro baseball, not just practice games. And for a lot of prospects, this is their first real taste of the grind, so having a legit, energized home ballpark really matters. Also, we can't forget about the history and momentum. Rancho Cucamonga isn't some random dot on the map either. It's not. The Quakes have a history of strong attendance, big community involvement and engagement, and a track record of seeing future big leaguers pass through. These are great built-in momentum items there already. And now the Angels get to tap into that. And for a long time, Angels fans, this also has a little nostalgic flavor. The organization has had tied to the Quakes before, and now the pipeline is being reconnected in a fresh way. So let's talk about the big picture. We'll pull out, take a look at everything. This move isn't just cosmetic. It has strategic implications for the Angels and the entire minor league system. Having a single A affiliate nearby means, again, it's easier to keep hitting philosophies aligned, sync up pitching development plans, monitor strength and conditioning, and integrate analytics from the top down. Instead of feeling like all these levels are separate islands, this keeps everyone rowing in the same direction. It also doesn't hurt from a recruiting and comfort standpoint either. Prospects from California or the West Coast get to stay closer to home. Travel is a bit easier, and families can come out and watch. It's not very far at all. And early in a player's career, feeling supported both on and off the field absolutely matters. On the logistics side, this setup simplifies things as well. Shorter trips for the front office check-ins, cleaner movement when sending players up and down the ladder, and more chances to get in-person looks instead of depending only on video and reports. Instead of having to hop on a flight, just drive down the freeway. In a development game that's increasingly detailed and data-driven, that connectivity is real edge. Now let's be clear, changing affiliates and uniforms doesn't magically fix everything or anything that's been wrong with the Angels farm system. It doesn't. And we know the real status of that. This move does not suddenly create more top-end prospects or turn single-A kids into instant MLB-ready impact players or erase years of thin depth at the upper levels. But this is infrastructure, not a shortcut. It's a better environment to grow talent. But the organization still has to draft well, develop well, and invest in coaching and support all the way up the chain. There is also a big community side to this, as the Quakes already have a strong local following, and now those fans get to attach themselves directly to the Angels prospects. Kids at Rancho can go to a game, see a young shortstop or pitcher tearing it up, and realistically dream about seeing that guy in Anaheim in a few years down the road. And with the team now under modern, well-resourced minor league ownership, you're going to see more promotions, better fan experiences, and a tighter connection between Rancho Cucamonga and Angels baseball. So that's how you grow a regional baseball culture from the ground up, and definitely excited to see that. So big picture, the Rancho Cucamonga Quakes becoming an Angels affiliate isn't some tiny footnote. It's a structural upgrade for the farm system. And, it gives the Angels, 1, better developmental alignment, 2, a strong local single-A environment, 3, easier access for scouting and coaching, 4, a fresh, energized fan connection in the Inland Empire. And again, it doesn't fix everything overnight, but it's one of those smart and quietly important moves that can pay off in a few years when we're talking about the next wave of Angels talent. And we're saying, yeah, remember watching that guy in Rancho? I have a lot of those as well. And so that's going to wrap up our final topic of the show. And what an episode and a wild off-season landscape we're navigating through together. We're holding hands and going through this together as buddies, right? So you guys make this show what it is. The passion, the knowledge, the humor, and the debate, it all fuels Angels Latest every single day, every single week. All right, so let's close things out, as this is going to do it for this episode of Angels Latest. And man, we covered a lot today. We kicked off with Paul DeJong, the bio, the power, the defensive versatility, the strengths, the weaknesses, the contract projections, and whether he could be one of those affordable strategic depth plays that the Angels are looking at. Then we shifted to Andy Ibañez, the Cuban background, the contact bat, the platoon splits, the defensive flexibility, the low-risk contract, and why he might be the exact kind of steady, under-the-radar role player that fits a new Angels roster construction model. And then we unpacked that huge OC Register report about the payroll, the philosophy shift, the idea of going big on one marquee free agent, and why the mid-tier spending just hasn't practically worked, and how this offseason might finally be the moment the Angels take a real swing. And then, of course, we wrapped up with the Rancho Cucamonga Quakes going red, and the affiliate change, the uniforms, the developmental impact, and why this move quietly matters for the future of the organization. So, as always, now it's your turn, Angels fans. Jump into those comments below. What do you think about Paul DeJong or Andy Ibañez as depth options and potential third base fill-ins? Should the Angels go big this offseason like the Orange County Register is hinting at? And how do you feel about the Quakes becoming an Angels affiliate once again? Do you like the move, love it, or still processing it? Drop your takes, your theories, your predictions. You know we love featuring your comments on the show, so put it down below. And as always, thank you so much for watching, for your support, for being part of this incredible community. The growth of this show, the energy behind it, that's all because of you. I mean, I love showing up here, breaking down the rumors, the chaos, the storylines, and keeping this Angels conversation alive all season long. All right, don't forget to hit the like, subscribe if you haven't already, and turn on notifications so you never miss another episode. All right, Angels fans, that's going to wrap it up. Thank you for watching, and thank you for commenting as always, and thank you for being part of the Angels' latest community. I'm Anthony, and as always, go Halos!